What make you actually feel entering into the social impact?
Oh wow, for a first question, I think pretty loaded question, I must say.
Recently, I was with Sunil Gavaskar at one of the charity events in the US. Sonal, I'm going to be your disruptive podcaster there. I'll just take liberties. I'm sure the editors will cut it out.
Let's understand what people really understand when they say compassionate leadership.
And I felt that, we hardly know anybody.
Only all I can say is thank you. You're the Krishna who is teaching us Gita. To learn from him, we are good.
No, this part cut out. Well, so again, here comes the disruption part. I cautioned you. So when he retired, Persistent put out like a big magazine on him, on Samir, again, because this is a Nagpur leader.
How do you feel leadership has changed in the last 10 to 15 years?
Let's understand who is a leader. Anybody who has a follower is a leader. You will see burnouts, you will see revolts, you will see depressions coming in society, all other challenges you will see.
I mean, absolutely, you hit the nail. I told you. We're barely understanding our own problems.
Anytime you get a chance, listen very carefully.
Success to significance.
Success is typically personal. There is an element of selfishness in it, like my success.
And what I understand from your difference between empathy and compassion is that compassion is Hello everybody. So this is the first ever podcast by SimpleWorks Solutions Private Limited. Myself, I am Sonal Fuke. I am the Chief People Officer at SimpleWorks. SimpleWorks is a multinational product company. It's an IT company. And for us, unlike the manufacturing units, people are our biggest assets. So that is why the importance of the driving force, the leadership, comes into picture. And we wanted to start our podcast with people. So when we talk about compassionate leadership or when we talk about leadership, people usually think of compassion as, some kind of a softer aspect of things, and sometimes they also think of it as some kind of a weakness, or maybe taking or not taking hard decisions, or being very soft about taking decisions. But actually compassion is a lot about empathy. It is a lot about understanding people through the deeper layers of their personalities, and also trying to understand what is beneath the surface. So when we talk about compassionate leadership, we wanted to have leaders who have actually lived compassionate leadership. And here we have two guests with us today, Mr. Samir Bendre and Mr. Jeetu Jodhpurkar. And both of them, one thing they have in common is that they both have been in the corporates for decades, 2-3 decades. And then both of them have actually joined joined hands where they could make a social impact to a larger society. So let me introduce our guests. Our esteemed guest today, Samir sir, Mr. Samir Bendre. He is a deeply passionate, seasoned global business leader with over 30 years of experience across entrepreneurship, operations, people management, strategy and administration in roles ranging from entrepreneur to COO of a global technology company. About 2 years ago, he took a conscious decision to move away from regular corporates to devote time to work with non-profit sector to bring a positive impact to the society. Today, he serves as Executive Director, India, and COO at High Zero, a true Nagpuri at heart, as he takes pride in identifying himself. He is widely admired as a people person who brings a human-centric culture wherever he goes, and he is often invited to speak on entrepreneurship, workforce management, and business leadership. So, a very warm welcome to Samir sir.
Thank you, Sonal. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. Our guest, Jeetu Jodhpurkar, or Jeetu Dada, as I call him. He is the Managing Director for International Strategy at Share Our Strength, one of the largest NGOs in the US focused on ending childhood hunger. He is a senior leader with over 25 years of experience across corporate and non-profit roles, including COO positions at Community Wealth Partners and Washington Gas Energy Systems, where he helped scale a regional energy business across 20 plus US states. building global partnerships, and expanding school meal programs, including large midday meal kitchens in and around Nagpur and other Indian cities. And they have started from the US. Born and educated in Nagpur as a chemical engineer with further studies at Virginia Tech, the Catholic University of America, and an executive program at Darden Business School, Jeetu Dada now lives near Washington, D.C. Along with his wife, he also nurtures a community of Gita-based spiritual reflection and meditation focused on purpose-driven leadership and moving from success to significance. I'm really excited to learn from both his corporate journey and his work in the social impact space. So, while we begin our podcast, the first thing I would really like to know from you both is, which is common for both of you, is that you both have worked in the corporate environment for 25 years, 30 years. And both of you have taken a decision and you have moved in a place where you can create a larger social impact. And that shows a great quality in leadership, because making such a change is not everybody's cup of tea. So I would really like to know from both of you, like, how did the journey begin? What make you actually feel leaving the corporate space and entering into the social impact space?
Oh wow! For a first question, I think a pretty loaded question, I must say. But let me put it that way. Actually, it happened. The shift primarily happened because I was talking with my then chairman and managing director, Dr. Anand Deshpande, and we were just talking about what happens after retirement and other things, and how people tend to struggle after retirement on what to do suddenly. See, he always said that at the time of retirement, you should always have your next mission in life to be charted out. In today's time, you're going to have an active life for the age of, at least to the age of 70, if not more. You're going to live up to the age of 100. So retirement is only a small, I wouldn't say a full stop, but just a change of innings from, like in cricket, first innings to a second innings starting. That's all it is. And then when you want to find your next mission in life, I was looking at what I could do. Then I decided that I don't want to start my mission in life when I'm actually doing retirement. So let's plan for it. And that's where the thought of change came. Then the change came is, what can we do something different? And that's where the need for doing something impactful to the society. A lot of times we have, say, a lot of NGOs, not-for-profits, who actually need some of the more structured working which runs in the corporates. So how we could bring those learnings to the corporate world and then impact society is where it looked at. Obviously, being in Nagpur, being connected with the people, wanting to do something for Nagpur was always there back of mind. I think that's what got me here.
That's a very interesting thought, that you should actually start preparing yourself before the actual time arrives, and that actually made you think seriously about it and actually take that decision. How about you, Jeetu Dada?
Yeah, I like, Samir, your narrative about the second inning. And interestingly, recently I was with Sunil Gavaskar at one of the charity events in the US, and he actually talked about the third inning. For him, he said, like, playing cricket was the first, and then the commentator was second, and now he goes around doing other things. So third. But anyway, for me, actually, contrary to Samir, I didn't have that sort of advice, and I actually did not know or didn't have a mission ahead of me. But it was still an interesting moment. Everything was going great, financially, corporate-wise, career-wise, and all of that. And one summer afternoon, my wife Madhvi, we were just walking, and unbeknownst to me, I ended up saying, "You know what I get paid for, Madhvi?" I just asked her. Like, obviously things are going well, and I'm asking her, "What do I get paid for? Do you know?" And she said, "Like, what is it?" And I said, "I get paid to worry, to worry about things." And it was a surprise to me myself. Like, is that me who said that? Because I'm normally not a worrywart. I actually don't worry. Those who know me know that. And I ended up saying that I get, and then I started thinking about, what did I just hear? Who said it? And then it occurred to me that running this Wall Street traded company, Washington Gas, very large publicly traded utility company, somewhere along the way, while everything were going, I had lost meaning. Like, I completely lost about what does this mean, to what end, was the big question that never occurred to me. And I feel like never, because the question never came, I never answered it. To what end? And I'll give you an example. We would typically work hard, like I would work the team hard. And then let's say we exceeded our forecast, earnings per share forecast. Let's say we added $2.5 million more than for the quarter than the analysts anticipated. Then what the narrative at the end of the day would be, hey, great job. We added a nickel in the pockets of our 55 million shareholders, because each, when you distribute that, they're getting a nickel. And like, I didn't know how to celebrate that. What does that mean? Giving a nickel more. So that really got me to thinking that it wasn't that I was working very long and hard hours, or like was burning the midnight oil, and I had good, very competent teams to do all that. But it was my job indeed, though, to worry about the government regulations or the contracts and the relationships and the connections with other utilities and this and that. And it was still a natural gas business, so safety aspects of it. So most of the time, I found myself worrying, and that sort of installed a figurehead in me to do all that worrying and obviously manage that, not just worry. And that's when it occurred to me that this doesn't sit well. And so, fortunately, that year I was part of the Leadership Greater Washington cohort, in which, in the Washington, Maryland, Virginia area, they pick whoever they think are 50 leaders, and they put them together for a year to try to improve this, or the ecosystem of that. I was one of those that year, so I had access to a lot. Majority of them were social sector leaders. And so, with that thought, I started talking to some of those, which then it occurred to me that there are other places, other things to do, needle moving. Obviously, in the social sector, there's a lot less money to be made. But also, luckily, the stage in life and the timing in life was such that we could afford, and I had permission from my boss, my wife, to do that. So when I made the switch, to answer your question, which I did, the sort of the narrative going back to my colleagues were like, "Are you sure? Like, is this right?" So I would say, "Yeah, half the money, twice the joy." Right. And the point of that was, in the end, whatever we're doing or not doing for that matter is in the pursuit of joy. Right. Like, if you really go in the final analysis, whatever you're doing or not doing is so that you get a little more joy. But after a while, after you met and checked off all the needs and wants, then it's just a marginal value, diminishing returns. The joy does not match the scale of the earnings. And so if you can stop at that and shift and do something else, then the joy really suddenly catapults into it. And that's been my experience. So yeah, like, very happy where I am. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah, so again, that's a very, and it also makes me think that you both are like classmates from school, and you both started off it was a similar path, but then your paths crossed exactly at one point of time where now you are also working together. Both of you had different reasons of coming to this social field, but then you did manage to come together again.
Yeah.
And that is really interesting. So when you hear the phrase compassionate leadership, what is the first real moment from your life or career that comes to your mind?
Okay, I think before talking about the moment, what really comes to my mind, let's understand what people really understand when they say compassionate leadership.
Please, yeah, sure.
I think there are two words which people tend to confuse: empathy and compassion. They may be related, but they are not the same thing. Empathy is saying that I understand your problem, what it is, I give you a good listening ear, is empathy. Compassion is going beyond that and to understanding how you can really help the person to really transfer from there to the next level. I think that's where people need to understand when you say a good, every leader should be compassionate. Empathy should be there, but every leader should be compassionate about what he or she is doing. Okay, my first memory again comes from one of the, let's not say it first, but one of the important memory comes from my time at Persistent when we were just starting the Nagpur Center, and it was early days. The center was yet to be opened. As typically happens in all places, the day before the opening, nothing is said, tables are not set, we are all working 24/7. Everybody's standing, running
Chaos.
around here and there. And then we had a couple of my families were going to be there for the opening. They had traveled all the way from Pune. They were getting bored with these guys and the ladies are working, the spouses were getting bored. So that is the time our then director and one of the mentors or guru or visionaries in my regard, Dada Deshpande, he said, okay, I will take these ladies with me. I will take them around. He took them around to boating to Ambazari Lake, and showed this thing that I understand that if these husbands are working, for them to be working well, I need to show that their spouses are well taken care of.
Wow.
I think that showed me how do you go beyond your just job to understand show empathy, show compassion towards what the leadership is all about. Of course, then there are many other instances, but this is something which I think immediately comes to my mind.
So that's thinking beyond the obvious. Like everybody is working, who is actually thinking of the wives? That's remarkable. Sign of a true leader.
Absolutely.
And what I understand from your difference between empathy and compassion is that compassion is actually showing empathy in action.
Yeah, probably. Absolutely.
So empathy is when you put yourself in somebody's shoes, but then you're feeling that, whatever pain or whatever it is. But compassion is after that you are enabling, some level of relief to that person. And I think that's a great understanding of...
No, if I were to add to that, the way I have always looked at, when you look at people, you can always look at everybody as an individual. But how do you try to think from his context or from her context? Anything which I say maybe makes sense to me, but is it making sense to the person who is listening? Unless you are able to talk from that context. So similarly, if somebody were to come to me saying, hey, I want to quit, I want to change my job, I want to... My understanding is what that person needs to do. Company may need something, but company also needs people who are going to be loyal, who are going to be committed, who are going to give their 100%. So if the person is going to be distracted because something is happening in her life or his life, you need to understand that context. And that is where the compassion part of every leadership or every interaction comes in play.
Yeah, even, this also reminds me of this one story from SimpleWorks when I was just trying to understand people and something happened and this one person actually resigned. And when I spoke with his parents, I came to know that, that individual was actually raised in a very, very different setting which is very not ordinary for us. People go through like different situations while growing up, and they grow up with such different mindsets, the parenting that happens to them and all of that. And I felt that, we hardly know anybody. We don't know their backgrounds. We don't know what is important for them. And then that year I felt that, the Diwali gifting that we do in the office, I thought that I should not do it in the office. And I decided that I'll go to everybody's homes and distribute the gifts. And that year I actually visited about 60-70 people in Nagpur, whoever were working. We visited their homes, HR and myself, and then I also went to Bangalore, I went to Hyderabad. I actually did gifting there, and that gave me such great insights about the people who are working for us. You really get to know, what is important for them, what kind of incentives would they actually, appreciate. So I completely get it when you say, one has to be really compassionate. How about you, Jeetu Dada?
First of all, I love the example that you gave. Really, very, very thoughtful of him, and so much to learn from that inspiration. Sonal, I'm going to be your disruptive podcaster. That I'll just take liberties. I'm sure the editors will cut it out. But because I come from Trump's America, when he has the debates, he goes back to the first question. Let me answer that, and then steal some time. While I may not do that, go back all the way there, but. At the beginning of this question, you said something that's really important for me, and I think I'm going to use this public forum to vocalize that. You highlighted that we grew up together, and it's an open secret. Samir knows that I'm an admirer, and while as a friend, as a childhood friend, I have the right to sit on his back or sit next to him anytime the way I want. But I should say that it is an honor for me to be able to sit here next to me on your first podcast, and. There's a lot to this man that is known, and You know that you have my utter
Only all I
respect.
can say is thank you.
So, yeah.
You are the Krishna who is teaching us
Oh,
Gita. As
stop
long
it.
as we can be
Stop
the
it.
Sudamas or the Arjunas to
No.
learn from him, we are good.
No, this part cut out.
I wonder if you were this gentleman when you were in school.
We were not.
We were not.
I mean, we were not. No. But I mean, I'll give you one example. So, like you are interviewing Samir. Madhi, when she was doing her master's thesis at George Mason University in organizational development, she picked some top leaders in the U.S. And then I'd suggested, I think she came up with her own, like, what about Samir? He's already one of the. And she still to this day says he was one of the best interviews. And like what he shared was so well informed, so spot on. And so all of it, and I knew it. I mean, I didn't know about all of everything, but so I think this must be highlighted and valued. I think the reason I also say that is because right here in Nagpur, there's like a top leader who can teach us a thing or two about people, right? Like it's managed literally, as you said, thousands of it. So this was my Trump part of it, of the getting to your question, like we're stealing the moment. I'll share a quick example you asked, but the one thing that I want to add also, I think great conversation, first of all, about compassion and the difference between compassion and empathy. One other angle I'd like to throw it is, and it isn't just giving. Like normally it feels like compassion is we're being nice, we're being empathetic, and you made a good point about behavior. But Samir talked about action, all of that. But it's also receiving. It is in a subtle form. It's actually very smart because the way I see it is that I have a passion, you have a passion, and COM is joining the two passions. If you're able to astutely identify what is your passion, how does it contribute to the passion that I have or mine to yours? The name of the organization that I run is Share Our Strength. And the idea is everybody has a strength to share. And if you can figure out how create a platform for them to share their strength, then we can. And so it is with passion, I think, that everybody has a passion. They may or may not know. But I think a leader is the one who's able to identify and like figure out. That's the best synergy. So it's actually additive. It is smart. It makes a lot of business sense. It's not just I'm going to be a compassionate leader and give. It's actually you receive as much. In fact, if you think about it, I may be giving in the short term. You gave that one-time Diwali gift, or Dr. Deshpande's father took them one time. But that memory in those employees will stay forever, and there's residual return on that. The story is still coming up today. And so that's a very smart life cycle costing, if you want to think about it.
So that's multidimensional, actually.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want my example, but I think we can leave it.
Oh, please share your example.
Well, so again, here comes the disruption part. I cautioned you. My example is not that of a compassionate leader, but actually of a not compassionate leader.
Okay.
It was my first thing. So everything that this leader demonstrated is like you do opposite of that would be a compassionate leader. So this was my daughter Mohini was born. This is 1997. So 28 years ago. I was living in Northern Virginia. I just gotten my second master's, and my job was at Vodafone AirTouch, which was in Timonium, Maryland, which is near Baltimore.
Yeah.
So it's like a 2-hour commute, hard commute, lots like several beltways, rush hour, and it was the winter time, like similar time, and you know the madness on the streets there, right? You also know. So it was very difficult to get there on time, and my boss at the time, my first like real professional boss, his name was Ed Katz. Katz, and he was a stickler for on time. Like everything had to be on time, and everyone everyone knew that. It was like my first month, and every Friday there was like an all hands meeting. This was my first one, and he had put out that you have to be there at 8 o'clock sharp. And for him, 8 o'clock meant 8 o'clock, as in like on the dot, as in not the minute, but the second, not beyond that. And I'd heard stories about it, so I made every darn effort. But Mohini was just a few months old. Madhu was working at United Airlines as a supervisor. She had her own schedule. So figuring the infant schedule out, dropping her off at the daycare, and then driving, battling, combating. I pulled up all the James Bond tricks you can imagine. Still managed to get there at 8 o'clock, pulled in, dashed through the door, and really the office was upstairs, the conference room was downstairs, the ground floor, at the door at 8 o'clock. And here I'm walking in, looking outside in, and there is Ed Cat looking inside out. It was 8 o'clock, but it was a few seconds, and he slammed the door on my face, saying, "You're late." And then it's like, Dude, really? Do you not want to know what I've gone through? So there was no consideration for the whole self, like what, and that's when I made this like realized that this is not how I want to be, and that's a discompassionate leader, like the sort of the anti to your question.
Yeah, but that, I mean, it's the same thing, right? I mean, what you want to be like, he wanted to be like
Yeah.
Dada Deshpande,
I also
and
would
what
like
you don't want to be like. I mean, you don't want to be like him. So it works. Whatever works.
So no, when he retired, they Persistent put out like a big magazine on him, on Samir, again, because this is a Nagpur leader, I insist. You should read that. I'll send it to you. I might still.
Please do that.
What people said and how real they were. There is a compassionate leader, like very compassionate leader sitting right here as well to learn a lot from. I learned from him, to be honest. So.
No, I think learning, everybody learns from everybody. The way you came, I remember the first time when you came, when you were starting your crash, it was saying that, okay, here was a need. While you can look at a need, it's a business requirement, every corporate, but they think the passion which you wanted to put it. So there was a learning for us. I think learning is everywhere. I think in today's time, in old times, they used to say, you can't have a soldier without a sword. I think today our sword is
love
the pen. Today our sword is the pen. Our sword is the whatever iPad. Wherever you're learning, I think without that you cannot really exist today.
Yeah, amazing conversation. I'm loving it. Next question for both of you. How do you feel leadership has changed in the last 10 to 15 years? Has it changed? Has it been more about people's expectations, technology, or something else?
I think leadership will keep on changing, and change is a must. Like they say, change is the only constant. Everything else will. The thing change has to happen. I think as the society grows, as people's exposure change, different changes are going to take. From the times where the kings and queens to the authoritarian leadership that time, to a leadership which much more collaborative today, much more inclusive today. I think those are just the basic changes which we are seeing. But the way the new generation, especially the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas and all are coming through, I think there are going to be other facets to understand that individual on what she desires, what he wants to achieve, and then you lead him in the way he or she would like to be led. Let's understand who is a leader. Anybody who has a follower is a leader. That's the simple definition.
Love it.
How is Jeetu a leader? Because I follow him. Because you follow him. You follow him, he's a leader. Which area, which business line, or which activity, that's a different. But he's a leader. But today's leader has to not say that I want to go this way, so you as my followers go this way. Where does my follower want to go? And how do I lead my follower into the way which he or she wants to go with while ensuring that she does not go in a direction which you at least individually believe is not a good path to go or not the right path to go. So how do you give that direction? And that's where I think the leadership changes of today are coming. Expectations of people have changed. Technology is playing a huge role in what is there. People's attention spans have reduced phenomenally. People's expectations are there. Today, you cannot be the authoritarian leader of tomorrow. Otherwise, you will see burnouts, you will see revolts, you will see depressions coming in society, all other challenges you will see. So, you will have to do that. But here, I should caution you. When I say that leadership has changed, I'm talking primarily of the corporate world. There are going to be situations where you need authoritarian leaderships.
True. How about you?
No, I mostly agree with Samir. I think I also liked that what you said in the beginning, that change is real, change isn't bad. So if the leadership traits are changing, that doesn't automatically mean that it's wrong or bad. The two things that I have noticed, though, at least in the US, since that's where I spend all my corporate, one is it has increasingly become about efficiency over the last 10, 15 years, more and more. I mean, it's the corporate culture in the US isn't so much from what I hear in India. It's not necessarily nickel and dime, like squeezing every drop out of the lemon. It's not that, but still, how do I get more productivity, more output? and in that you sort of become tone deaf in some ways, or not as inclusive, to borrow your word. So that is in maybe there is compulsion to do that to meet the demands of the investors and all of that. That's one. And then the second is I do see a struggle sometimes in me, or often rather, in this generation gap, the behavioral differences between how I've grown up, what like how I have showed up, and what the expectations were from me, and therefore what I expect from others, quite different at times, like quite different from how my kids' generation shows up and what they like in every which way, and so and the thing that I love about that generation is they don't care. Like they I must change. They're so bold and bodacious, which I want to lift up, that they're bending it, and so therefore it's up to me to change. If I want to get the work done, then I'm going to have to figure out how do I work with this kid, or this young professional. So I think that the struggle has changed, but also the objectives more driven towards efficiency have changed as well.
And this kind of segues into the next question, which is very important for the next generation, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas. That in today's always connected world, which it was not like this before, so this is the first change that has happened. We are all very connected now. So how do you personally think about work-life balance? Is there something which can help us, be grounded, or how does it? I mean, what are your thoughts on the work-life balance aspect of things? So we are segueing from the leadership to coming to the next generation.
You're looking at me, but the pattern so far has been this. Are you sure you're not?
She's not allowing you to pick up from where I left this time.
It's actually it's easy to follow him.
See, because you most of the time you spend in the US, and again, we are actually kind of following where the America,
Like the Western patterns, right?
the Western pattern. So I would like to hear it from you first.
Yeah, so sure. And at the beginning, before we started this, I told you that I'm not aware of like someone else's model or this, or like, but I do have my own. And if you really go to the basics and visualize a balance, it by definition has two, right? And just like you are saying that this is different and this is different. And somehow I want to make this fragile equation work where they're as close. And at some point, even if you go to like a sabji wala, they would say, well, okay, this thing, you say, okay, this is good enough, fair enough. Like it's not exactly balanced actually, but you accept it. And I think there's a fallacy in it. I don't think work-life balance actually works. I mean, I've gone through that cycle myself, from an imbalanced life to trying to balance the work life. It was pretty vogue. There was like 10 years where like it was all about work life balance in the West, right? In America, now I see that it's vogue here, as you say. Instead, I choose to integrate life. So I now live an integrated life. So if you imagine a fabric, there are vertical threads and there are horizontal threads, but together they're very different directions, right? But together they make that robust fabric.
I love it. I really love it what you're saying.
And if you only had this and like that separate, it doesn't. So the way I live, which also like the biggest benefit for me is that I get to be the same person, the same man the whole time, 24/7. And so if I'm able, and sometimes I do less work than I should be, or I committed to, and more life, if you will. But in my mind, work is life. There is no life without work.
Absolutely.
Right? Especially if you follow Karma Yoga or Gita. How aren't you working if you're living? It's impossible to be not working. And so it's like in how the mindset, right? How I think of what my work is. If it's part of my psyche, if it's part of my being, then really it doesn't become this thick line drawn between 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 is work.
Correct.
After that is home, and then what do I do? Well, you infuse them with each other like a blended lifestyle. So it's an integrated lifestyle as a solution.
So integrated work life is what probably the term should be. In fact, the term itself of work-life balance probably is outdated.
I mean, there is maybe outdated, maybe, and I don't want to criticize it. There is a path to integration, right? You must first bring some balance before you can integrate. You cannot jump from a completely like silly way of living to saying that I have an integrated life. Would you agree, Samir?
Yeah, sure. I think so. Pretty much agree with a lot of things. I think first is if work is not part of your life, that itself is the wrong policy. If I'm going to spend 10 hours, 12 hours of my active day life, subtracting the time which I sleep, a major part of my life is
Absolutely.
work. So it has to trigger. But I think if I look at the larger pattern, let's look at it two ways. Earlier times, most of the lives were in factories or those type of, and the job was very laborious, a lot of labor oriented. That is why somebody had to switch on and switch off, saying that, hey, I need to get into a mood where I have to do, then I need to relax because obviously I have tired out for the day. But I think today we are living in a time of what I call a work-life harmony. It's not saying the mixing the two. You look at it, you're at work, you still will like to look at your WhatsApp. You still want to do something on Insta. You want to put a post on Insta. Not the Facebook generation, but the earlier generation maybe want to put something on Facebook, look at reels, look at a podcast. Earlier times when I was work, I was not doing anything else. In today times, and when I'm at home with my family, watching maybe a TV or a serial, I may still reply to an email.
Yeah.
So both sides, it comes with balance on both sides. It's not one way saying that in the office I can look at a WhatsApp and waste 10 minutes of my sort of office time. But in to that, I also have to give them 10 minutes of my personal time there. I think that's where work life has to be there. And this is going to change more and more as we go into the future. I think the future of work, if you were to try to look at, it is more going to be on a gig economy types, where everybody will be the owner of her time, deciding where she wants to go, what he wants to do, and achieving a balance in that fraction on what she believes or he believes is balance. Everybody's definition of balance may not be the same.
That's a very important point, actually.
It's absolutely,
and that's how it will be. Life will be, and that's how I look at. It has to be harmony, and harmony you will achieve based on how your physiology is, how your thought process is. You will define your balance, your harmony in your way, which will be different from mine and different from his.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, you hit the nail. I told you. Nowhere else.
Yeah, so basically so earlier it was like work-life balance would be kind of same for everybody. It would be work-life balance for everybody. Everybody is spending that 9 to 5 time at work, and then after that they are spending at home. But now everybody can decide how they want to spend their time and actually take the ownership.
Absolutely.
Achieve the objective.
So I'll give you an example. No, I have not stayed in UK. Even he has not stayed in the UK. But in the UK, it is normally between 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Most of the corporates do not schedule business calls. Because that's the time most of the people want to go and pick up the children from school, drop them here. So that's the time. You can have a call, but you don't have a structured most of the time. Obviously, when there is a need, you can do that because people understand that this is going to be part of their job. They have to balance. Somebody has to go to school, pick up the child, drop her to home or to drop her to daycare or something has to be done. It's an accepted norm that normally you don't keep a scheduled meeting at that time.
Actually, that's very interesting and it's very positive. That earlier, somebody had to be there to, take care of these chores, and now it's a part of your work. Because as they say that, more than 66% of your time you're spending at work. So it better be harmonious.
Yes,
absolutely.
But I think that also the business benefits, Samir, in your example, you may not physically be there, but if you're mentally thinking, then the output and the quality, right? We're worrying about your kid rather than just take care of it and then just like fully focus on it.
Fully focus on it, There are other aspects also. At least when you look at India, the way we grow. I'm sure my parents didn't know how we grew up. They were busy with their life. We had grandparents in their house.
And good for us.
Good for us. But
good for them.
Good for them. But in the next generation, they want to know every time. I know of so many of the young parents who saying that, oh, I have a camera, which is my child goes to a creche. There's a CCTV in the creche. I'm able to watch that on my computer. I have an extra screen put on my desk, which I know what my child is doing. I said, come on, let the child grow on her own.
That also invites a lot of paranoia, I believe.
Yes, absolutely.
Keeping a watch like all the time.
Absolutely.
So this new generation, they have their own challenges, and that is why many times it's very difficult for us to understand their problems as well.
We're barely understanding our own problems.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Isn't it?
yeah.
So this question is specifically for you, and I think we now are heading towards the end of our podcast. So
Like-
specific to your experiences, so you have led teams at the scale of thousands of employees. How do you make sure people don't feel like just a number? I mean, you did give an example, but I would like to get some more insights of how you manage to be somebody on whom at your retirement they actually created a magazine for you. I mean,
Oh, it was.
I think that's a lifetime achievement award, I would say.
That I would agree.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
And
was,
that's so fulfilling.
it was stuffed with like a real deal. It was a real deal, not
Exactly.
not feel good.
So I'm because I am at the very beginning of the career that you experienced, and
So let me put 2-3 factors to it. First is, I think when I took over this role that time as the chief people officer, my first thing that human is not a resource. We call it HR. It's not the thing.
Correct,
HR.
correct.
We should
I
not
agree.
use the word HR.
I like that too,
Like
Samir.
use people, you lose thing somewhere else because it's not a resource. When you start picking, it's not a machine which you can transport
You
from one place to
objectify it, yeah.
objectify it. If I'm in short of one, I can send 10 laptops from here to Bangalore, but I can't send 10 people from here to Bangalore just now. There are other factors to it. But I think, so let me go back. In, I think, late 1940s, 1930s or early 1940s, there used to be a writer named Ayn Rand. I don't know how many of you have read it. You may not.
Absolutely,
You may have read
founder.
If the younger generation, it's very interesting. She wrote a book called Anthem. Anthem that time deals about collectivism and individualism. And she said that time how as an individual can be a number. And she spoke about it in 1938 or 1940. That's the time. I don't remember the exact times, but those are the time. Today, that's what has happened to us. Your Instagram number is your mobile number, is your this thing. Your UPI ID is your number. You have become a number.
Your PAN card, your Aadhaar card,
your
Social
employee
scary.
ID card is a number.
Yeah.
And that's what has happened. And she saw it in 1938, 1940. You can imagine how it was. Now, coming to how do you deal with it? How do you ensure that people don't feel that they are a number? I think when you're, especially when you're looking at large scale, you can have to understand that you cannot connect with everybody, whether it is 5,000 people or 10,000 people. Anything above 150, 200 people, maximum 300, it's going to be difficult. So how do you design good org structures? How do you care layers? How do you care layers of middle managers? Like we say that HR is your first, your manager is your first HR. So how do you create those type of layers where people can do it? I think that's the first important thing. So what we did that time was a very, very interesting thing. I'm sure anybody who is working in this world, especially IT, will look at how much time does a leader have in a day and how his day is going to work out. If he has 5 days in a week working, how many people can he meet in a day? How many people can he connect in a day? So his sphere should be made in such a way that he controls people. And the other very important way to look at it is anytime you get a chance, one, listen very carefully. A lot of time people are already preparing to give an answer and not listening completely to what the other person is saying. So become what we call prayerful listening. So really try to listen very carefully. And wherever possible, give that other person at least one takeaway or one something where that person will remember saying that, hey, Sonal, I met you last time. This is what you did. It has stayed with me. That connection will go on for your life. Oh, I met Jeetu. Jeetu, you told me this. This has stayed with me for life. So give them a small takeaway. You can recommend a book to them. You can recommend something to do, some takeaway which this. If I get a takeaway from you, I always feel that I want to be connected with you. So that's the other thing which I always try to do. And when I meet people, which could be anybody.
And then do you also share this with them when you meet with them? That, this is the takeaway that...
No, I don't think I would like to specify, okay, hey, here's the takeaway which I'm giving you as if I'm some big giver and they are taker. You put
Then
it
it can
in,
sound prescriptive.
It's not prescriptive.
Yeah.
It's saying that, hey, hey, why don't you, I did this, I learned this, I like this. So sometimes if they're asking for a question, or you share your experience in such a way that they feel that it's a takeaway for them. Don't be prescriptive, because if you are prescriptive, people will not take it. They will close their mind to it.
Yeah.
Even if you are giving the best advice, they'll think, "Nahi, I don't want to listen to it." Because
That becomes very
immediately
preachy.
that internal revolt will start. Internally, will start blocking it. Give it in such a way that, yeah, it's a nice story to tell.
I think if it's authentic, they'll pick up.
Yeah, it has to be authentic.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
find your true north and be authentic about it.
Yeah, I agree. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much to learn actually.
That's true.
So, Jeetu Dada, I would like to ask something which is very close to your heart. I really love this phrase, success to significance. So, elaborate on that. I would like to know more about that. What do you mean when you say success to significance?
Yeah, I think maybe a more tangible, technical way, if you will, to understand that would be when I contribute more than I consume. I think that sort of then leaves from just success. Success is typically personal, finite, and there is an element of selfishness in it, like my success. Significance puts it on its head that I've had enough consumption, and it could be consumption of anything, consumption of your energy, of the relationships, of resources, of money. I mean, the most obvious is the of money, like financial. How much do I want to hoard? How much do I need? Time in a conversation. This example that Samir gave, are you listening, or am I just consuming, right? And so when I sort of when there is a net positive in my head that I'm contributing more than I'm consuming, I think you start to get the feeling of significance, that it's mattering. It is making a difference. That is when the balance shifts from success to significance. So keep that in mind. So let me stop there, because I can talk more. I don't know how much time we have.
You can complete what you wanted to say because.
Well, I mean, this is one, and the other is, for that we have to be grounded ourselves. Like, we have to have satiated our own needs. So I am not suggesting that if you look at Maslow's hierarchy or the theory, right? Like, it's obvious that you have to get to a certain level beyond that. But if mindlessly I continue to just consume, then I will, and if I never stop to ask the question, to what end, which I really often do like it, and also suggest that, to what end, if I don't have that line of sight, in the end, what am I trying to achieve? Then I think that it's not to be had, this life of significance. The other way to look at it is, if you visualize a glass that is, I mean, it's the cliche of the half full, half empty, but that's not what I'm using. But when we say the word fulfilled, do you feel fulfilled in your life, whatever you're doing? Do you feel fulfilled in your career? Do I feel fulfilled as a mother, as a father? Technically, when the glass is fulfilled, the sign of that being full is like the next drop is going to overflow. There's no space to keep it. It's got more than enough, more than it's got, right? And so until if I'm seeking fulfillment in life, until it starts to flow away from me, literally, right? Figuratively, literally, all of it, I'll never have that feeling. Otherwise, I'll always feel like my glass is half filled. It's not full yet. It's not full yet. And so that's the other way I like to think of it, is like not half filled, but fulfilled. And the sign of that is that it's flowing towards others, which is another way of saying contributing more than I consume, whatever type of resource it is, including time, energy, relationship, money, all of that.
That's amazing, and I wish this conversation could just go on and on. I mean, we can go on, but then we have the limitation of time.
Yeah.
And I truly appreciate both of you for spending this afternoon with me, sharing your thoughts, and enriching the conversation that I just started.
Yeah, thank you, Samir, for enriching me.
Thank you. And thank you, Sonal. I think it was also good for us to sort of have those questions really asked, and sort of us to think and sort of say, what are we really trying to do? Where are we trying to do?
Yeah.
I really love the point, from success to significance. I think
absolutely love it.
Huge. It's so deep. It's so deep. I just can't tell you. So I think good learning for us.
This guy.
Yep.
I think you guys
Yeah,
can
so
go back
I
to
loved
your
your work-life harmony.
you can go back to your school time and then
Yes.
Kick each other.
Yeah, I can tell
I-
these fellows, cut. Now we are going on to.
I actually like his
Now the-
work-life harmony. Actually, that
now
that
the
gets
topics
to
are getting little.
Yeah.
thank you so much, both of you.
Having us on.
Thank you, a pleasure.
Great joy.
Yeah.
Thank you.